Right, that slide, I shouldn't talk to the content of the slide as such, because we're coming back to the slide in another presentation, either tomorrow or the day after. Alright, so that is why I didn't talk to the content, but what is the important thing there is that we're talking about a methodology to plan and budget, right? We're talking about, and to get your strategic planning done. We are also talking about financial resources, and when we get to KPIs and so forth, we're going to talk about the financial resources. And we also say that that last sentence is a very important one, and we're going to come back to that one, because it's going to be a requirement that you're going to have to do from now on moving forward. So I didn't go into the details. We're going to still talk to that slide. You'll see some of the slides you see, they're repeated, but we have to repeat them because each time we talk about it a little bit more in depth. Right, so we're not saying the same things, we're just trying to explain it again with more examples and in more in depth so you understand. Is everybody, it doesn't look like everybody's back, eh? I don't know. Okay, so now we're going to, Mona, if you just move up to slide, we said we're going to talk about the log frame as a framework, or the logical framework model as a framework for understanding performance. When we talk about this, we talk about different kinds of indicators. In results-oriented budgeting, we have three main kinds of indicators. Now this is information that is nice and good to know, right? But we're going to get into more detail when we get here, when we start talking about KPIs. We talk about a single event binary indicator, it is binary meaning there's just one answer for it. Right? Pardon? Yeah, individual one. Like smoker, non-smoker. Right, I can't be in between. Isn't that so? I'm either a smoker or a non-smoker. It can be true or false. Right, if I ask you something, it can either be true or false. It can either be yes or no. I can't say maybe because that's not an answer. Either is not an answer. It's either yes or no. That's binary, right? There's just one answer that you can give. Girl or boy. Man or woman, right? That's what we are talking about, the binary indicator.
في مثل عربي بيقول يا ابيض يا اسود ما فيش رمادي. ما في.
It keeps moving in and out kind of thing. Yeah. Exactly. Black or white, yeah. Right, so that's what we mean. Then we have process indicators. It's about a process, about an activity, right? We're talking about those kind of indicators. And then we have an indicator that shows us a trend. Right, when you have a trend indicator, you're looking at where you have results. For example, we want to say, what is the trend or the pattern? We're looking at a pattern. So you're comparing the one to the other. We want to see whether there is an increase on a year-to-year basis in terms of what? Or maybe we say, let's take it like this, the other way. Whether we wanted to see whether there was a decrease in COVID on a week-to-week basis. Right, we're looking at a trend. We want to see how many people are getting sick. Is it the same amount or is it getting more? What's the pattern? That's what we're looking for. Right? Then we move to the next slide and we're talking about the different kinds of an indicator. Now, an indicator is like a sign. So it's a sign. You know, in your car, When you want to turn, you put the indicator on. Right, it's a sign to say that you want to go in that direction. So that is what we say. An indicator is like a signpost. An indicator tells you what should be measured. What should be measured, over what time period, and in which units, by whom, and how frequently. Meaning at which times. Now if I listened to you yesterday, or was it yesterday? When you were talking about your monitoring, you were referring to it as evaluations, and I said that's not evaluation, you remember? I said that's monitoring, and you're doing it annually. Now you think about it. If you are reporting annually, and you're going to answer this question not today, you're going to answer this question maybe tomorrow or the day after or even on Thursday. Is it a good practice? And you're going to tell us why. It is a good practice or it's not a good practice. Hannah?
المتابعة والتقييم للنشاط أثناء القيام فيه مشان أحصل على مخرجات جيدة ماشي على مراحل متعددة. لما أنا بقيم النشاط أو براقبه بقدر أنا أوصل في النهاية للمخرج اللي بدي إياه، للنتيجة اللي بدي إياها، للأثر المطلوب مستقبلا. فهي فيها ترابط عالي. فأنا بفضل شيء مهم بالنسبة لي إني أضمن عشان أقدر أطلع التقييم يختلف عن المراقبة. لما أنا أتراقب شغلة ممكن تعطيني إحصائية، هاي المحصلة النهائية على مدار فترات متعددة راح تعطيني تقييم شامل للوضع.
Okay, yes. Right, so now in this slide I'm just introducing you to some of the terminology that we're going to be using. Right, so we're going to use the word indicator. You can start thinking about what an indicator is. You can start thinking about how often you measure, what is the frequency, what is the methodology you use, and in what units, and think about it, just to start thinking about it. Then you have with your indicator a baseline. Right, what is the baseline? What is a baseline? You use baselines, don't you? No. Yes. A baseline is a measurement that it's the first historical measurement that you take before you start with whatever activity you're going to be starting with. It's something you use that you will compare to see how, whether you're doing, if you wanted to increase or decrease, and whether that was the level from which you're going to compare to see if it is happening. It's a baseline. We're going to come back to it again tomorrow. Right, for example, I want to say, I want to increase the number of tourists in the Aqaba region. If I'm going to say I want to increase it, how will I know whether it's increasing? I must be able to compare it to something. So I'm going to say in 2022, our baseline, the number, we had 22,000 tourists. Right? I want to increase it to 24,000, and I know that the increase was 2,000 more. Yes, Dr. Mahmoud?
يعني لازم أحدد سنة محددة لعملية القياس، هي نقطة البداية لعملية القياس. وتكون هاي السنة غير لا يكون فيها أي مشاكل. مثلا مش ممكن نختار سنة 2020 كسنة أساس لقياس السياحة لأنه كان في كورونا وكان وضع غير طبيعي. وبس نبدأ مثلا سنة 21 ومن بدايتها نبدأ نكمل.
You want to add something?
I agree with you.
You agree? Yes. So you understand what the baseline is. It is a number or something that you're going to identify that you're going to use to compare your progress against. Then you have a target. So the target in the example that we used was 24,000. Right, we want to achieve, that is what we want to reach. And then we have to plan our activities to reach the 24,000. The target. And then the indicator measure, we talk about an actual score that you can measure periodically where you want to show the different trends. Now something is irritating. It's all these smokers that bring the smell back. Lots of smokers. How many smokers here? Hands up. Lots of smokers. Okay, I forgive you. Right, now we're going to go to the next one. We're going to go to I want to show you an example. Mona, is the next slide? Slide 14. 14. Right, now we are on, this is an example of an indicator, a baseline, a target, and a measure. So this one here was about subsidies for solar water. Right, if you're looking at improving the environment, we gave you one from health, the mortality rate of children under 5 years of age, right? And then the percentage of learners passing mathematics from education. Now, I just put those three because I'm going to be working with those three departments over this time. But if I have to look at you, I would say, if you wanted to put in a few more, we're going to talk about, what am I going to say? Number of partnerships and collaborations developed. Isn't that so? Instead of, oh, now where we got to? Oh, sorry. I think it's the slide before this. It's the same slide. Sorry, slide 14, yeah. So, I can replace this. Yeah, these are the examples. So I can say to you, maybe if I take one related to your organization, and I can say the percentage of environmental inspections conducted. Isn't that so? So we could write here percentage of environmental inspections conducted. We can have a baseline, we can have a target for the year, and we can have a measure. Just to give you an example that is related to your work. Something is really bothering my throat. Sorry. Okay, the next one, now we can go to the next slide. Here we're talking about a description. We talk about a description. What is a description? What does the word description mean? And why do we need a description? Yeah, why do we need a description? Why do we need a description?
الوصف احنا عادة نستخدمه للتوضيح عشان ابين انا مدى التحسن او مدى النتائج الاوليه اللي انا حصلت عليها او المخرجات الاوليه. يعني على سبيل المثال عندي نسبه عاليه من المتعلمين في الرياضيات، قديش مثلا هذول منهم راح للجامعه ودرس برضه رياضيات، فبرضه كان قادر نقدر نقيس هاي الشغله. هي description عادة بيكون لوصف الشيء.
Right, a description is usually to describe something, is to tell you more about something. But when we talk about indicators and we put in a description, we actually talk about the key features or the key characteristics or the scope of that component. What is it going to cover? Right. We're going to say, for example, we're talking about, and basically the reason for this is that if somebody else is looking at your document, they have an idea of what it is that you want to measure. For example, you're going to say collaboration and partnership networks. Right. That's the description. Or it could be compliance and monitoring activities. That's the description. That's where does it fall? What is the category into which this KPI falls? Then you would write down the indicator, right? And you would also say, then you would write down your full indicator to say, if I want to talk about compliance and monitoring, that's where it falls. And we're going to say the number of compliance visits conducted. Right. Where, say for example, you had the inspectors going out to see whether the hotel is recycling the waste. Right. Then you're going to, so if we're talking about compliance, we want to go, they go there, they want to measure how many times you went to check, number of visits in relationship to refuse recycling or whatever, but you have to think about how you're going to write it, right? And then you're going to put down a baseline, maybe last year or the year before or whatever you are using as your baseline. We say that year we did 10 visits. Now this year we want to do 20. We want to see an increase. Then we're going to put down what it is that we want to measure over that period, and we're going to also record the numbers over the medium-term expenditure framework, which is 3 years. So you give targets for 3 years. Okay? So